Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Are you ready to dream on? Do you know how to fly high and soar among the clouds? Get ready to live adventurously because the Laura Meeks Show starts now. Listen as Laura lifts you off the ground while teaching you how to fly high. Forget ground-level drama and be prepared to confront your dreams head-on as she encourages you to navigate towards your North Star and into what just might be the best life you've imagined. Dream on, live adventurously on the Laura Meeks Show.
I'm joined with the masterful Judy Matejcik. Say hi, Judy.
Amen. Hi, Laura Meeks. How are you?
This is for those of you out in Radio Land. Well, first of all, we're kind of competing against the Robert Mueller thing. So I'm sure that the people that are here are really here because this is where they'd rather be spending their time rather than worrying about that. Because we're going to learn today that the world does unfold in how you imagine it. And so we want to imagine it in the best possible way. So one of the things I wanted to start with is this a story. It's always good to start with a story. So there was an old man. He was walking along through a garden, and he's nearing the end of his.
Oh, did you forget it?
Can you hear okay? Can you hear okay, Judy? She's not hearing.
Oh, it's just my connection.
Okay, well, you work on that. So this guy's walking through the garden, and he looks down. He sees a little frog that is down on the ground, and as he's walking by, the little frog calls up and says, old man, I am a princess, and if you kiss me, I will give you anything you want." And the old man looks around. He's like, wait a sec, who's talking? He says, "It's me. I'm down here. I'm the frog." He looks down. He sees this little frog, and the frog repeats it. It says, "Hey, look, if you kiss me, I will give you anything that you desire." So the old man picks up the frog, and he looks at it, and he says, "Wow, this is really interesting." And he puts it in his pocket and starts walking away. As the frog goes, "But sir, you don't understand. If you kiss me, I will give you anything you want." And the old man says, "Look, at my age, I'd rather have a talking frog." And the funny part about that is that part of what we don't know in as we're out and about is what anybody else specifically wants in their life. What sounds really good to me to if you were to kiss the frog and get anything you want may not be what you want. And so as we go out into the world and we're starting to think about and imagine a life that we would love to live, what you might want and what I might want, I have found have been totally different. Now, Judy, Judy, by the way, is a life mastery consultant and a coach. You work with a lot of different people in a lot of different circumstances. In your world, would you not say that that's absolutely true? You meet somebody on the street and you think, I know what this person wants, and then they tell you and you're like, whoa, didn't think that was true at all. Are you having a hard time hearing?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay, good. Now, I can hear you now, but I couldn't hear you before. What did you ask me? Imagine that. Yeah.
So the question...
I'm just going to say yes for whatever you just said. Yes. Whatever she says. No.
Yeah. The question is when you talk to people, aren't you often amazed that you kind of make a potential judgment based on your experience with them as you're talking to them, and you think, okay, I kind of get an idea of what this person might want. And then as you delve into the, hey, what would you love question, then all of a sudden you go, really? You want to go to Iowa? Really?
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting that you said that, because I have this frog here that goes with your frog joke. Can you see this? Now, imagine that. And it was like, I found this. I have clients who are yoga instructors, and I have frogs everywhere. Forever rely on God. And this frog is stretching into his imagination. So I think the answer to your question is yes, because I just got through with a road trip across country, and I went through all these different states, and they had all these accents. And I found myself judging people by their accents. Well, this person's from the South.
The South. That's
right. Yeah, and this person's from Arkansas. And this person, and I had to like completely erase any preconceived notions about my judgment about anything, and I found the most fascinating people.
Yeah, well, and don't you find, I think that's part of the fun of traveling, and if you can take that preconceived notion out, if they, if somebody starts talking with a drawing, or you may have an idea of what somebody from the South or the North, or what they might be, and if you can kind of stop that filter from filtering, then you can absorb the information with fewer filters and get it actually a much better picture. Now, one of the things I want to talk about before you get too far along.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
The whole kind of our shtick today is dealing with the concept of imagination.
Right.
Now, in our world, one of the things that I found interesting in my studies was when we come to the planet, we have 5 earthly senses that we're actually, looking and touching and feeling and smelling the world. And that world is the thing that we are often misled to think is the real world. That if you can touch it, see it, if this is a coffee cup, I feel it, I see it. But what I also know is that we are actually gifted 6 other mental faculties.
Yeah.
And of those 6, imagination is one of these tools that we can use. Now, tell me, imagination to you, how would you tell somebody how imagination differs from inspiration?
Well, imagination is, it can be used so many different ways. And I think we'll get into this later, but you can imagine the worst, you can imagine the best, and you can imagine incredible things. And that's what's fun about hanging around with younger people, And I have this quote, if it's okay, from Napoleon Hill. I'd like to say it's from me, but it's Napoleon Hill. And it says, imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivable, powerful force that the world has ever known. And that to me says it all. It's like this force that we can use to expand ourselves or contract ourselves.
Yeah.
How's that?
Now, in my part of as I was taking a look at imagination, one of the other things I think is important is imagination to me is something that exists in your mind, and it's not necessarily manifested into material form. So kind of the power, the value and the power of imagination is that we can take our mind and go forward in time, backwards in time. We can go up, we can go down, we can go into any land, good or bad, and we can experience that in our imagination. Now, part of the reason that makes that important is I want to go to another concept that we're familiar with, and that is that everything that we know about in the material world was created twice. Right? So now, for those who may not have heard that, it's pretty easy to understand. So if you're taking a look at this coffee cup, that coffee cup has a particular shape and color and thing. Somebody had to think of it in their head first, before they made it into a cup here. And literally everything that is in our material world had to be created first in the mind and then into the real world. And so the value of all of that is the fact that if you know that, then the focus stops from being out here and goes over to here, to where you can say, hey, if that's true, then if I can think of cool new things, I could make cool new things. Now, sadly, we are
That's
hard to believe that we're already at the first break. When we come back, now, Judy, did you want to say anything? If they want to get a hold of you, if this is their first segment, they want to go back to the Mueller report, they want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Imagine that. We'll put that down, but it's judymatejek.lifemasterconsultant.com, and we'll come back to that and put that there.
Okay, and do they have a phone number for you?
Yeah, 512-497-0190.
0190 512 Central Texas.
Yeah, you got it.
Very famous spot. Okay, with that, we're going to take a quick break. Stick with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about how to use your imagination. Now that we know it's in your head,
yes,
how to focus that, and so that we can create a life that we really want. A flight plan for life, that's what we're looking for. Come right back. We'll tell you how that works. This is Laura Meeks on the Laura Meeks Show. Be right back.
There you go.
Doing a great job today putting in the intro music. One of the things that I can imagine, I've imagined it now for a little while, 60 some years, is being in a rock band. So
really?
One of the things that I've taken up 3 years ago, 3+ years ago, when I was 60, I started taking drum lessons, because I have a vision, imagination of being playing. I'd like to play in a band. I don't necessarily need to be on a stage, but I would like to.
Oh no, you have to be on a stage. That's the most fun part.
Well, and somehow I'm going to integrate this into my stage presence as I do my presentations.
Yes.
Somehow, kind of like Kyle Cease, I'll just add in my drums will be on stage, and there'll be some reason that I need to do that. Hey, when we were up a few minutes ago, first segment, we're talking about imagination and the power of the fact that everything that we see in life is created twice, that we imagine it first and then we craft it up. And one of the things that you and I were talking about on the break was the fact that there are people in this world who have great imagination, right?
Yes.
And of the age groups, who do you think has the best imagination? In your experience?
I think 68, 69.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I
just came to my 50th class reunion. We were imagining what we looked like when we were 18.
I never imagined you'd look like this.
Yeah, imagine this. So no, we were talking too about I'm hanging out with my little 5-year-old granddaughter. And it was so much fun yesterday, because it was so cool when you get into that mindset of a 5-year-old and she's holding your hand and she's telling you what the world is all about. It's like, okay.
Well, yeah.
And we went across the street where there's a pond. I live in Central. There's a pond across the street and there's ducks. So she goes over and she whack. And they started coming across the pond to her, and they started talking to her. And I was videoing. I do Facebook Lives every day from my business, and I started videoing it. And I just kept my mouth shut, and it was amazing. She was talking to the duck. They were talking duck. Period.
Yeah. Well, and you and I were talking on the break. I just went up to see my granddaughter, who is 2.5. And, as you were saying, your granddaughter knows she's 5. Juniper knows she's 2. How old are you? 2. She's got that down. But an incredible imagination. And I think that the joy of grandparenting is reigniting that incredible imagination. Because I brought her an Elmo doll. She had already had Mr. Bunny, who she was very familiar with. So Mr. Bunny was introduced to Elmo, and we had many a conversation between Mr. Bunny and Elmo.
Isn't it great? So many people think we grandparents are nuts. Well, we are. I know. Because we can like get rid of the garbage for a couple and just get into imagination with them. And last night, Anna and I went out in the backyard. She put a blanket down, a towel. She laid on her back and she goes, Nana, let's look at the clouds.
Yeah.
And she was imagining all of these beautiful things in the clouds. She said, did you ever do that, Nana?
Did you ever? Once.
I'm like, wow, it's been years.
Yeah. Well, and truthfully, I can clearly remember where I grew up on about 8 acres, and 4 of that was field. And so often in the summer, mom's solution to everything was go outside and play.
Yeah.
Go outside. There's nothing to do outside. What are we going to do outside? So we go and lay in the field and look up at the clouds and go, oh my God, and it's interesting because, it's like, okay, that looks like Mickey Mouse, or, that looks like a shark. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Where are you seeing the shark? No, see, that's like the head. And it's like, oh, man.
Well, guess what? It was 50 years ago can you imagine a man was walking on the moon? That came from an idea that we're putting a man on the moon and getting him back safely. And imagine that. And now we're just like, whoa. And imagine that we have like these little phones in our pockets.
Yeah, well, and one of the things I absolutely love about science fiction is it uses a lot of imagination to what the future might bring. Because honest to gosh, I mean, if you remember Dick Tracy cartoons in the newspaper, he had a watch that you could talk on. And my daughter now has her Apple Watch that she can talk on. It's like, who would have thought that would have happened in our lifetime? But the part to bring this back to how could this help anybody?
Oh, it has to, because guess what? I tell my clients, when you do your to-do list in the morning, your to-be list, put 15 minutes of straight imagining. Period.
Ooh, I love it.
Okay, and then you go in there and you're busy at noon or something, maybe not the first part of the day. And just imagine, oh man, imagine what I would love to eat. Oh, imagine what I would love to do this. And I'll tell you, it lifts up your whole energy. Because what we're doing is lifting up your vibrational energy, just like those balloons coming out of your head, Laura.
I know. Imagine if we were in that balloon.
Imagine. I think we did one of those segments with bubble wrap.
Yeah, we did. For those, and I'm glad you brought that up.
I watched my notes.
Yeah. So imagine if you had notes, you could actually follow along.
No.
One of the things that I will tell the audience is that Judy and I had an incredible imaginative event a couple of years ago when we were at a seminar together, and we had learned about being in a personal bubble and how you could shield yourself from the negative world if you had your own little bubble. And so we crafted up a video describing the personal bubble and how it works. And for those that are listening, you stick around. At the end of the show, we will post the link to that. It's on YouTube.
It's the best YouTube. It went viral, didn't it, Laura?
Yeah, and it's hilarious. And it was, and again, I think it was the fun of it was the imaginative process that happened in just a couple of minutes. I mean, we were in the lobby and we thought of this idea and put our little phone camera off and shot the video.
But the funny thing about it is all around the bubble wrap. And it took me a while to find some bubble wrap, but once we did it, you and I were on it.
Yeah. One of the things that happened to me recently, I was in a meditation, guided meditation, and part of the guided meditation, I've done this with different people in different seminars, is the idea, and to make it short, we imagined that there was a refrigerator. We imagined we opened the door. We imagined that there was a bowl of lemons. We took the bowl out. We imagined we put it on the table.
And your favorite beer. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we took the knife. We got our favorite knife. We cut it, and then we squeezed it, and we imagined what that would be. Now, one of the interesting things about an exercise like that, and even with my shortened explanation, I'm sure that people, when they think about squeezing a whole slice of lemon into your mouth, go, ooh, that's, you know, you can feel that. Your body has the ability to react to your imagination just as if it were happening.
Yes, and I bet no matter what it is, it could be something that will expand you and expand you and expand you, or it could contract you. Right, yes.
Absolutely. And in the next segment, part of what I want to chat about is that there are a number of different ways that we can expand our ability to imagine. Now, the very first thing I would tell you is go find a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
A 2-year-old will help you imagine right away. Go to daycare or something. That all of that is one way. But we have a number of other ideas that can help expand your imagination. And again, the power that what I want to kind of pull in here is the power of this imagination is your ability to craft up a future much better than the one you're experiencing right now. Because what's happening right now is just the circumstances of your life. But if you stretch yourself and imagine yourself doing something bigger, better, faster, bolder, brighter, happier, joyfully, then the body will adjust and connect to that idea. So when we come back, this is Laura Meeks. When we come back, we're going to play a game called the What If Up?
What If Up?
What If Up? Judy's going to teach us What If Up game. You can take this home with you.
We come back. 1995. No.
This is Laura Meeks. We're on Transformation Talk Radio. This is Laura Meeks and the Laura Meeks Show. We'll be right back. Stick with us. This is Laura Meeks. Welcome back to the Laura Meeks Show. We are live on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm here with Judy Matejcik, Life Mastery Consultant out of Texas, and she and I are using our imagination to imagine all kinds of stuff. See, well, I've got it just for a second, since this is my show. If you do want to go to my website, my website is flyhighliving.com. If you want to connect with me, if there's anything we say or you want to get some more information, you can email me, Laura@flyhighliving.com, or we'll post the phone number, but the phone number is 888-666-1570, and operators are standing by. Actually, I'm right here, right there. So if you call, I probably won't answer until after the show. In any case, we were talking about imagination. The power of imagination is one of the 6 mental faculties that we have. In addition to our 5 earthly senses, we have 6 mental faculties. And imagination is a really, really, really important piece of our building a life that we would love. And so much of what we talk about here on the Laura Meeks Show is building a life that you love. My whole forte, my whole gambit, so to speak, is to help tens of thousands of people bring their gifts to this world. And I am absolutely convinced that each one of us has some sort of unique piece of the pie that we came down here to share. And to do that, it sometimes takes some extra classes and a little extra learning to figure it out. And one of the things that Judy and I have been associated with for quite a few years, and we have been going down a path of study and studying with some of the best masters of personal development. And in the process, learning ourselves how this works, and we're sharing that with you. Yeah. And imagination is part of it. And we have talked about how kids have a great imagination. We've talked about how everything is created twice, so we have to have you have to imagine something. If you want to build a house, you have to first imagine the plans, and then you build the house, right? So now part of that is coming up with different ways for us to expand our imagination. Let me ask you this real quick before we get started on that. How do we lose it, or do we lose it? My experience is little kids have incredible imagination, and middle-aged kids can't imagine anything except the worst thing happening.
Yeah. One of the things one of my clients said, or one of my other life mastery consultants told me, is that worry is the misuse of imagination. And when we get in worry, that is like misuse. In other words, and that's when it shows up in your body, your mind, you fall down, you're imagining the worst, and you can do that, and a lot of people do. I really want to get into the what if up stuff and how we use it, because most people that I work with, they don't know how to what if up. And what if up is a game.
Love a game.
Love a game. And it's always when I say,
do we win?
I could say it's a tool.
A tool. Sounds very fun.
Oh man, it's a
that sounds fun.
It's a game you play.
Just like playing.
Okay, you want to play the what if up game with me, Laura?
Yeah, so let's play the what if up.
All right, so you come out with a statement, just a short, like a statement. And I'm going to say your statement, and then I'm going to add to it. So you go ahead and start.
Okay.
What if you start?
What if I woke up this morning in a good mood?
Ooh. What if you woke up this morning in a good mood, you went to the mailbox, and there was a check for $1,000 in there?
Okay. Now
it's your turn. You have to say.
Now, do I have to say it? So what if I woke up this morning in a good mood? I went out to the mailbox and I found a check for $1,000. And what if I went to the jewelry store and bought something for a friend of mine?
Okay. So what if you woke up in a good mood? You went to the mailbox and you got a check for $1,000. Right? Is that the second one? Then you went to the jewelry store and you got something for a friend of yours, and you won a brand new Mercedes-Benz hot pink. Okay, look what it did. Okay, go ahead.
So what if I woke up this morning in a really great mood? I walked out to the mailbox and I got a check for $1,000. I took that check and I went to the jewelry store intending to buy something for a friend of mine. When I walked in the door, it turns out I'm their whatever customer, and I won a Mercedes-Benz in hot pink, which happens to match my Volkswagen.
Yes, I know.
That's a lucky deal. I have.
Okay, I'll do one more. Okay, what if you woke up in a good mood? You went to the mailbox. You got a check for $1,000. You went to the jewelry store to get something for a friend, and you won a prize of a Mercedes-Benz hot pink, and you drove it all the way to Texas, and you picked me up, and we went on a world tour comedy routine show.
It's possible. We imagined it.
Yes.
Well, now.
So did you see what happened there?
Yeah.
What we did is we had fun. So spirit loves fun. Your dreams come in as soon as you start having fun and you mess around. Now, what I did yesterday with my clients, we did the same thing. What if? And guess what? Here's what I tell them to do right after that. Hold that energy. Okay? Hold the energy of the hot pink Mercedes-Benz coming in here. Hold it. Okay? Now, take a deep breath in and shut your eyes and memorize that feeling. Memorize it in everything. You're tingly, you're fun, you're having excitement, right? Now, come up with 2 action steps in that direction that you can do right now. Okay? So, bam, 2 action steps to do right now. Okay, Laura? So you know that all of this, because guess what? Your vision is God it's given. It's that whole thing's a given. So right now, bam, come up right now, Laura, with 2 action steps you can do right now in that direction.
Well, so in my vision, as I'm increasing my speaking, then one of the things I can do is I went to a Toastmasters meeting, I could apply to Toastmasters, which would be something very easy.
That's one. And the thing is that you want to stay in that implementation, because it's SOI, speed of implementation. So when you're getting that high vibrational energy from all the imagining, and you write down the action steps, you action speed of implementation before the little wiggle worms come in and say, you're nuts. Okay?
Well, and let's talk about that for a sec. What are the roadblocks here? Why are we having fun? Why don't we just think of 2 things and do it? That's so much faster.
Because that's boring. And most of the people out there, they will, action step. That means I have to do this. It's like a to-do list. This is action steps of a to-be list, who you're being in that creative imagination. That's how the Wright brothers, bam. That's how Walt Disney worked, bam.
Yeah, what I want to get at is that I think part of the challenge that we see as we're walking down this road of life is that we grew up, we were taught how the world works. I call that our paradigm of how the world works by our teachers and our mentors and all the other people involved. And they took that 2-year-old imagination of, hey, I can go to the moon in a pink rocket, down to pink is not a color in space, and then the paint falls out. It's like,
girls don't do rockets.
Shrink, and girls don't. I have a great show where one of the things that I was talking about was, in fact, I did this a couple of shows ago, where I said, imagine that you're an 8-year-old girl and you said you want to be an astronaut, and your uncle looks down and goes, it's 1959. You're never going to be an astronaut. Well, it turns out that's Sally Ride. She was the first American in space. She was born in 1951. She had that conversation when she was 8 years old.
And guess what? She had good mentors. She had good support. She had good parents that did not listen to that paradigm. So yes, imagine that.
Yeah, well, and so we've got a couple minutes left. Part of what I want to aim people at is take this idea, this what if up game, and the whole reason that we go into that is because in the current model in your head, if I just said, get a piece of paper out and write 3 things you're going to do today, all of that crud is going to be focused here, and it's not going to bubble out. So we gotta somehow open up the doors and the windows and get outside and fly in the balloon and think, what would it look like if I was way up there? And then all of a sudden, what that does is it reacts with your mind, and then you can come up with these ideas.
And you stay healthier too. Your body's healthier. Your mind's healthier.
I mean, it flushes out some of the toxins that you're crafting up for yourself. So that is so great, and I appreciate you sharing that. When we come back, we're actually at another break. Hard to believe. When we come back, I want to kind of wrap up some of the ideas of where we're getting blocked and how we can unblock it. So I have a couple other ideas of things that I've done that are fun to open up your imagination, because that's the problem. If you just attack it like you always do on a piece of paper, you're not going to get what you need. We have to activate this imagination. To do that, there's a couple of things that we learned. The What If Up game is great. This is Laura Meeks. We're on Transformation Talk Radio, and we are going to be right back with a couple other great ideas. This is Laura Meeks. See you soon. I just wanted to respond to, we were talking about the imagination and imagining that I won that Mercedes, the pink Mercedes. I said, well, part of my visualization of my future is that I'm a glider pilot. Not only do I like balloons, but I like airplanes, and even airplanes without engines are fun because there's a skill to keeping up in the air. But Part of what I imagine is that I'm going to have a high performance glider, and they can actually be disassembled and put into a little trailer so that you can take them out to Texas or wherever you happen to be flying. So I thought, well, I can't really tow a trailer with my little pink Volkswagen. So I thought, well, I need a truck, and I've been driving recently. I've rented a couple of times a Dodge pickup truck, really nice Dodge pickup truck. And I thought, now if I could make this pink with a lot of glitter, I could tow my glider with this, and it would be
Imagine that, man, Laura. You are on it, and you told me, so I'm holding that vision for you.
Well, and part of what I want the audience to understand is although this sounds like we're making it up, which we are, that's our imagination. The point being is that you too can imagine your future. Mm-hmm. That's what this is all about. One of the things that we know is that, again, everything is created twice. And if you want to create a life that's different than the one that you're in right now, that appears to you right now, then you have to imagine it first.
And come from it.
Go there. That you need to be that. So if you can be that in your head and act as if that is true, then it manifests. That's kind of how law of attraction works. Yeah. So all of the reason that we're talking about imagination is because that's like the first piece of the puzzle that you need to expand. Now, in the last segment, we played the what if up game. And I love that's one of many great ways to expand your ability to imagine. Now, again, I would say if you really want to practice this a lot, hang around your 2, 3, 4-year-old, 5-year-old granddaughters, grandsons. They will help your imagination grow quickly.
And I'll tell you, if you want to practice the other, go hang around with people who are negative, and what if I got blown away in the tornado that's supposed to happen next week at 5:00, and like, oh my God, and you create who you hang around with.
And you do. And the important piece of that too, or I'll expand on that in a second, is that imagination. We talked about this in the first segment, but let's zone in on that. Imagination can be, and often, I will say almost more often than not, is used in the wrong direction. And a great example of this is if you just turn on the TV to any of the major news shows, they are in the business of what if it goes wrong? What if the polar bears die? What if the flood waters rise? What if this storm knocks New Orleans off the map? That is using your imagination in the wrong direction. Now, one of the things I find interesting is somewhere along the line, we all train each other to enhance that. And so part of what Judy and I are trying to get you to understand today is you have to make a decision to not go to that version of imagination. Oh my God,
Or you get to know yourself really well, and when you're feeling that constriction in your body, that's when, or for me, it's certain times of day when I start to nosedive. To me, it's like when about 5:00, and then I start imagining and I have to catch myself and know my own personal rhythm of the thoughts. Yeah. And once I started to take notes on myself, I knew that during those times a day, I would take a break. I would take a deep breath, and I would go into the what if up. And we're not 100% perfect at any of this by any stretch of the means. It's just to be noticing and get to know yourself so well, and then plug in these games.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that is the games and the tools that we are giving you are things that you would have to first choose to do. So in other words, you'd have to recognize, and I'll give you a real great example. My mother was a worrywart about money. She was the major breadwinner in the family, and she, like many, she'd worry about money. And then she trained me in the fine art of worrying about the worst. So when I typically, up until recently, if I were to look at the checkbook and see the numbers starting to go down, then that's where your imagination gets really good. I mean, if anybody wants to know whether you have an imagination, wait till your daughter is late, 3 hours from her date, or your husband or wife is, 3 hours late from work, and you haven't heard from them, and they haven't texted you, and you're thinking, what could have happened? You're not thinking, well, they could have won the lottery and they're out, going to the bank in an effort to I mean, that's a possibility. But what we all learn very quickly is, oh my God, he must have been in a car accident, or he would have called. Something must have, maybe he got fired at work and he doesn't want to tell me. Maybe, maybe he's having an affair. I don't know.
Well,
all these things start.
That's so true. Yeah. One of the things my mentor says that, my coach, I think we all need coaches and mentors. That's everybody a plug for us and a plug for us. One thing my mentor says, when I get like that and I call, they go, Judy, bam, you're being sloppy with your energy. I need sloppy with your energy. And I'm like, I know that she's going to say that because sometimes I like to be sloppy with my energy because I like to have people feel sorry for me. But as soon as I talk to her, she was, you're sloppy with your energy and you are in charge of your energy. So I'm just saying I need to have another person and a support groups to come in and tell me.
Well, and I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, you and I both have mentors and coaches in our lives, and because it is very hard. And I think this is one of the things that we can offer to others is the fact is that this is stuff that we study and that we are used to hearing in our own mind and hearing when other people talk. So that if you're not aware, it does take a while. Noticing what you notice is a technique. And figuring out what you're saying and thinking, you're not realizing that when you pick up the phone after the show and you want to call somebody and tell them how great the show was, and then the next thing you know, you're talking about, well, yeah, and then this happened, then I'm really worried about this, and then she said this, and I'm not sure about that, and it's, whoa, and the little lights go off. Yeah, you need to call us so you have somebody. So that you can get that feedback loop going, so that you can use your magic.
There's nothing better than to have somebody call me after one of these shows and just like to just chat, and especially if this is all new concepts. It's just uplift. That's our job, right? That
is. Now, sadly, this is the end of our show. We're going to have to finish. I have to do another one. Maybe I may piggyback. I'll talk to you about this afterwards. So we may piggyback next week. You don't have a pig, you have a frog, but we can on that. If they want to get a hold of you real quick, how do they do that? Telephone number?
512-497-0190.
Okay. If you want to get a hold of me, 888-666-1570, Laura at Fly High Living. So that's imagination. Imagine that this show goes on again in 2 weeks. We'll expand on what we were talking about today and give you some new techniques. Until then, remember, dream on, fly high, live adventurously. That's how we do it. This is Laura Meeks and Judy Matejcek. We will see you soon. Take care.
You've been listening to the
You've been listening to The Laura Meeks Show. Dream on, fly high, live adventurously on Transformation Talk Radio. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us next month as Laura helps you find your unique gifts so you can bring them to the world. For more information on Laura Meeks or to listen to past shows, visit her website at flyhighliving.com. Check out her hit Dream On 12-week course, where you get the personal attention you need to fly high in your new life.